For Lou and I guess Barry too, Matt Martin just was very clear that this was the expectation for the team coming in from the start. And I was just wondering if you could expand on that and just what are the benefits of working with a team where the expectations are so high? I know every team comes into a season, wanting to win the Stanley Cup, but there's a big difference between want and actually having a shot at it.
Andrew, I really don't understand the question, other than I think that expectations for every team each and every year is to be where we are today. It's how you approach it throughout the year. And the experience that our players had last year certainly puts that focus just in a little higher direction than it was the year before. So I think that I'm not surprised with that expectation and would be very disappointed if that expectation wasn't there.
Go ahead, Andrew.
And just Barry, we've spoken all season about playing the same teams over and over and over again. Does it make any difference one bit that now you're facing a series with the team you haven't faced since Game 6 of the conference finals last season?
Well, I think we haven't played them, but if there's a team that we've played most recent that we haven't played in our own division, it would be them, obviously, which helps a little bit. It helps with some of the pre-scout. Most of our players played in that series, so they understand when we're talking about certain trends or the way they play. But I think just like anything, just like when you play a team at the start of the season, play say the Bruins very early, the first game is a reacquaintance, I think, of all the things that you knew about them. And then it goes into all those little adjustments and that. But I think the first game, you'll have an understanding, but you'll get a feel for the tone, I guess, is probably the way to say it, the tone of how they're playing and the feel of playing against a Tampa Bay Lightning team versus a Boston Bruins team.
Arthur Steeple, The Athletic.
Lou, you talk often about a 5-year plan that changes every day. We're 3 years in now with you and Barry here, and this is back-to-back trips to the semifinals. Did anything change for you in the mindset of this team that you can think of along the way? Did you see them start to embrace this identity from so early on that you felt like there could be a shorter timeline to have this kind of success?
Well, I think that the first year that Barry and I got here, the most obvious was the goals against. And I think that the way the players sort of received and focused on what was asked of them in that commitment, I think was an indication that we had a lot of good people here and who had no problem with changing to what is needed to win. And you cannot win without good defense. And I think that once we saw that, I think everything just grew from there, and it sort of evolved. But when I say a 5-year plan, that's what you put on a piece of paper, but every day it changes. So right now, we're here for 3 years, but there's still that type of plan. But I think that our coaching staff, what they've done, what Barry has done with our group is just incredible. And right now, I think we're as good a team, if not better than we were at any given time. In fact, we've gotten better and better through this whole playoffs, embracing everything and anything that's asked. And I've always said this, that individual players can help you win games, but if you want to win a championship, it has to be one complete team.
Go ahead, Arthur.
Barry, when you think about throughout your career, guys that have been what you'd consider clutch playoff players who can step up at key times, and you've got guys like Josh Bailey and Brock Nelson who may be scoring at a bit higher pace over the last couple of years in the playoffs. Well, is there kind of a unifying factor among the players that you think of that compares to those two, that the makeup of a guy that can produce bigger numbers in important times?
I think the thing that they all possess is the number one, the desire, and they understand the moment. You hear me talk about a lot of moments, but they understand the importance of the situation, and they dig in deeper. They understand the game. They understand the on the bench, on the ice. There's a lot of things going on, and they're able just to keep their heartbeat nice and low internally as they're getting things done on the ice. So I think there's a sense of calmness that they have going into it. So when everything is, all hell's breaking out around you, they are the ones that are, laser focused on just the task at hand. And I think they all possess that.
Molly Walker, New York Post.
Lou, how gratifying is it to see what Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac have done this postseason so far?
Well, I think it's always gratifying to see any player who comes in, whether it's a player that came in through a transaction or a player that came in from your own lineup that hadn't played much and gets an opportunity to play and does well. But these are two character individuals, and we knew what they could bring, and we had total confidence in that. And it's just great to see them having the success that they are having. But their success is because of team success of the people around them. And they've accepted whatever role has been asked of them. And they've been leaders where they came from. We've made 2 transactions over the years with reference to players, really 5 and 3 this year. But each and every one of those players had a letter on their shirt where they came from. There was a reason for that. And that's important. And we have a group of players like that.
Go ahead, Molly.
And Barry, I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on how the Lightning worked the cap regulations with Nikita Kucherov and what kind of challenge he poses.
I'm not a capologist. I'm a coach. So, but I can tell you that Kucherov is a tremendous player. I mean, his skill set is off the charts. I mean, he's got a lot of deception, his release. There's so many dangerous aspects that he makes them, he's one of the superstars in the league. So they have a lot of them, and it gives you a bigger challenge, but at the same time, it also gives you a laser focus that there's certain things that you got to get done against these guys, and all the details will matter against these top players.
Neil Best, Newsday.
Lou, you referenced the trade deadline acquisitions, but even beyond that, guys like bringing Matt Martin back, Komarov, how would you, a lot of people sort of define Lou Lamoriello guys. How would you define what constitutes a Lou Lamoriello guy?
Well, first of all, it's interesting that you mentioned those two. I was in Toronto with both of them, and coming here to the island, I really didn't know a lot about the sort of locker room. I didn't know a lot about the personalities other than what was told to me. But I did know of the character and personalities of Matt Martin and Leo Komarov, of what type of players they were, but more important, what type of team guys they were and leaders they were in their own way, and how they cared about the people around them. So they were people that I thought I could rely on, we could rely on and trust. And so they are exactly that. But what we found out also was there were a lot of people who had the same characteristics in that locker room that were here, and which was a tremendous benefit, because first of all, you need good people. But I personally put a tremendous emphasis on what is in that room and how they want to play for each other. The key is to play for each other. When you have that, and they're happy for each other when they have success. And that to me is very important.
Tom Galiti, NHL.com.
Barry, when you look back on the series with Tampa last year, obviously the first game was kind of a tough situation, but from game 2 on, were there some moments maybe you wish you could have handled better, maybe you can learn from in that, or maybe anything in general you can learn from that can help you in this series?
Yeah, well, I think, obviously it was a tough it was a tough first game for us. Just all the elements of getting across country, all that, and didn't give us much of a chance. But what I did know is that as the series went on, we were getting better, and we were getting more dangerous, and we were doing all the things that we said we were going to do. We just ran out of runway, in my opinion, in some ways. Even in the when we got knocked out in game 6, I mean, I think we had a breakaway. We had the overtime chance to take it to game 7. We didn't. They got a save and ended up scoring a little bit later. But I felt our game had a lot of substance as we were playing them, and I think they're going to be a little bit different than they were last year. We're going to be a little bit different than we were last year, even though it's not even a complete year since we played them. They're going to be a little bit different, and we'll find out when we get there. I like the fact that we're at least starting on even ground, and we'll see where that takes us.
Steve Wino, Associated Press.
Hey, Lou, following up on Molly's question to Barry earlier, what are your thoughts on Nikita Kucherov and kind of the loophole there used by Tampa?
Well, I echo what Barry said. He's a tremendous hockey player. I don't think you need to say any more. And certainly his past and his success speaks for himself.
Ken Campbell, New York Times.
Yeah, Barry, when you came 3 years ago, you came from a Stanley Cup winning team, and I'm not sure how you felt, but I think a lot of people thought this was going to take a lot longer than it has. And I'm just wondering what in your mind has worked here over the last couple of years. What's been the key to success for this organization and this team?
Well, I think trust. I think the trust between myself and Lou and the staff and the players. And to me, it's the players. It's the leadership that we have. It starts with Lou, hopefully goes to me, and then down to Anders Lee. And getting good people into the organization. I didn't know Leo Komarov. I didn't know Matt Martin. And we talk about trust. We had a meeting when we were still in the trailers before there was some renovations going on, and Lou explained to me, he goes, "You're going to really like these guys. I can tell you they got some DNA that will fit in really well." And I trusted that and went with it. And he was completely right about that. And then you find in your locker room that the substance in the locker room, the Lees, the Baileys, the Nelsons, you go down the list, and a guy like Johnny Boychuk, I mean, those are incredible people to start molding, and we're thriving for, or not thriving, but they were looking for success as a group and hungry for it, and they delivered. And they are not afraid of work. They're not afraid of a lot of things. They just understand themselves, understand who we are as a group and what's expected. And it starts with a good foundation, the right attitude and the right people, and then just getting it done and proving it.
Go ahead, Ken. Ken Campbell, go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. Got it. I got to keep unmuting. Barry, you obviously weren't here, for the leaner times and the far more difficult times, but you probably saw it from afar. And I'm just wondering, when you look at where things are with this team, what you're accomplishing, how engaged the fan base is, the future of the franchise with the new building, it must make you think that you made a pretty good decision 3 years ago when you decided to take this on.
I say this when we play a playoff series, any decisions that we make or anything that happens, I always look forward. So when I got a chance to come here, I wasn't afraid of the challenge. I think that you're intrigued by it, and didn't know if we were going to have success or not, but I knew it wasn't going to be from a lack of trying or lack of people, working with, a guy like Lou and the pieces that were already here, that, if you continue down the right path and believe in what you're doing, you're going to have success. And, we had some early decisions to make. And like I say, I go back to one of the first decisions we had to make was, who was going to be the the captain of his hockey club, because there was obviously a face of the franchise and John Tavares leaving, and we had to, do everything thoroughly, which is part of what I think Lou does, and part of what I think I do as a coach. We picked the right captain, and when you get the leadership of Anders Lee, voicing your message and coming to you and working together to get the solutions right, then you're going to have success. And to me, it was just everybody's wants success, and everybody believes in what we're doing, and we work together on that.
Kevin McGrant, Toronto Star.
Lou, good to talk to you again. One of the hallmarks of a Lou Lamoriello team, there are many, of course, but you always seem to identify a really good goalie or good goalies. And I just want to know how, at the risk of asking an obvious question with an obvious answer, why is good goaltending so important? And what is your secret sauce for identifying these goalies that you've had over your career?
Well, first of all, Kevin, I think you answered the first question yourself, how important a goaltender is. They're no different than a quarterback in football or an ace pitcher in baseball, and whether it's a point guard in basketball. So there are certain systemic parts of a team that are more critical than others, and the goaltender is the key. And I've just been very fortunate over the years to have outstanding goaltenders. I don't think there's any formula. Maybe it's luck, but I do know it is a good feeling when you can go to bed at night and know who your goaltender is going to be the next day.
Anthony Fucilli, MSG.
Hi, Lou. Just wondering the thrill it's been for you to see your fan base get back in the building and the energy that they provided.
Oh, it is fantastic. I don't know any other word. The energy that this fan base brings is just something special. And if you haven't experienced it, I think you should try and be there live. If you think it's exciting watching it on TV, you should be there. And I don't know what it will expect each and every night, and how they synchronize some of the things they do. It's almost like they're talking to each other when they decide to do a certain chant or anything else. They're real fans. Certainly they're used to some great success in past years, and right now they're thriving to the experiences they're going through, and we're feeding off it.
Go back to Andrew Gross, Newsday.
Hey, Lou, the pandemic has obviously impacted everyone's life, over the past 16 months or so. But in looking at the way your organization, just from a hockey sense, has sort of successfully navigated through and had, the success on ice that you did have through these trying times. Is that any more invigorating to you, or give you any more satisfaction knowing, what you had to get through to get where you are right now?
Well, I think it goes back to a couple of comments Barry's made, and basically the same comment at different times. It comes down to the players. The players have to embrace what's asked of them, and they have to be willing to do the things that maybe they don't like to do, things that are difficult, that are in their best interest, as for their family, for themselves, to stay healthy and stay safe. And that allows the comfortability of them coming in, performing, knowing they're okay. And I have to give tremendous respect to our ownership to allow us to do the necessities to help everybody be safe, in a lot of different things that we did for safety precautions, and our coaching staff who's kept monitoring that, not only the protocols of the league, but also our own self-inflicted protocols that the players embraced. So it's not a surprise because of the quality of people that we have and the players who want to have success. And they trust that what Barry and the staff is doing is for their best interest to have success.
One last question here. Joe Smith, The Athletic, Tampa Bay.
Hey, Barry, you were just mentioning Kucherov and their high-end players. When you're, game planning from Tampa or facing them, where does Brayden Point fit into the whole thing in terms of what makes them go and what makes him unique, you think, among kind of the stars in this league?
He is up there with some of the best players in the National Hockey League. He is undervalued, in my opinion. He's a really good player. I think if you talk to Coop, and this is probably a better question for Coop, but Brayden Point is one of those players that thrives. You look at his points per game in the playoffs, it's higher than it is in probably the regular season, and he has pretty good totals. So he's a big game player that probably doesn't get enough credit. I look at him as, the 200-foot players like a Bergeron or someone like that. That's Brayden Point.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll chat tomorrow. We'll speak soon. Thanks.